Rahul Gandhi and the art of public speaking. That's our topic today. Rahul Gandhi and the art of public speaking. When you think of the profile of a leader, his capacity to communicate comes up as one of the most essential attributes. You skim through the history of mankind, identify the greatest of leaders, you will find that they were all very good communicators. Now, in India, for a long time, especially in the last 12 years, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been acclaimed, held up to the whole country as the ultimate paragon of public speaking. He is considered matchless. No one comes anywhere near him. I have no hesitation in recognizing and respecting the amazing rhetorical power of our Prime Minister. And I experience a tinge of pride about it, particularly given the fact that he hails from a comparatively modest background without the benefit of the best of education possible in this country, though he claims to have done a master's degree. And I don't want to dispute it because I have really no factual ground for doing so. If he claims to have that degree, I would believe that he has that degree until it is proved to be false, and it's not been proved false yet in a very authentic manner, though it has been very vehemently questioned, but that's not my business. So if he claims that he has a Bachelor of Arts degree and a Master's degree, I accept it. But then that's not the best of educational background. In spite of all the handicaps, the Prime Minister has mastered the art of public speaking. Of that, I have no doubt. But as of now, if anyone were to ask me as to who between, say, Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi, I consider to be the better exponent of the art of public speaking, without any hesitation, I would say Rahul Gandhi. And in this video, I hope to give you a very, very modest, simple explanation, including the basis for my saying so. Am I making an arbitrary assumption, a false claim? Am I issuing a prejudiced verdict? Or am I actually dealing with facts as they exist today? Fortunately, I don't have to present to you a particular instance of Narendra Modi's power of public speaking, because each of his speeches, and we have thousands of them, each of his speeches attests to his power of public speaking. Of that, I have no doubt. You have also no doubt. So I don't have to prove it. But because Rahul Gandhi has been for more than a decade stigmatized as a mere papu, who is not a patch on the Prime Minister, a patch on Narendra Modi. And it was always assumed that contrasting Rahul Gandhi with the Prime Minister redounds to the greater glory of the Prime Minister. I have to now really show you an instance of Rahul Gandhi's public speaking from his recent speech in the Parliament, particularly the introductory part. If any person who is interested in mastering the art of public speaking wants to know how to begin a public speech, how to begin a speech, this is a classic example. I have been a public speaker of some kind. From school days, from college days, I participated in state level debate contests. And all my life I've been a public speaker. And therefore, I've paid a lot of attention to the art of public speaking. And also because I know that how you speak determines largely the quality of your personality. For example, I was always aware of the fact that in the Greek context, as the Greek thinkers analyzed the profiles of great heroes, they identified two important attributes of a hero, without which nobody can be a hero. One is the power of speech, and the other is the capacity for decisive action or heroic deed. Heroic speech, heroic deed. And sorry, and then they go into the question as to which is more important between the two. Heroic speech or heroic deed, which is more valuable in a leader? And the absolute consensus in the Greek context is that the capacity for heroic speech or powerful speech or persuasive speech is more valuable than the capacity for heroic deeds. Like it or not, that was how the Greek thinkers evaluated it. So I just make a reference to it to bring home to all of us the importance of this particular talent and quality or strengths in a public personage, like the Prime Minister, like the leader of the opposition, Shri Rahul Gandhi. Now, if you read any classic book on the art of public speaking, you will invariably come across the idea that in making a good beginning, you win half the battle. How you introduce your subject either wins or loses the audience for you. It's that important. Because the entire strength of all the arguments that would ensue, that would follow, would depend on how effective, how captivating, how gripping the introduction is. If the introduction is boring, if the introduction is irrelevant, if the introduction is lacking in vitality, then no matter what sublime ideas you string together for the rest of the speech, the people, your listeners, are likely to be indifferent to you. So that is the decisive importance of getting onto a very good start, the introductory part. Now, in the speech that Rahul Gandhi made in the parliament, the most recent of his speeches, and I'm going to play a particular clip where Rahul Gandhi himself explains why he chose to begin his speech in the parliament in that manner. Now, I can tell you, I can guarantee you, as someone who has studied the art of public speaking in a scientific manner, that you could not have started a speech of the kind that Rahul Gandhi made in any better way. In comparison, I have to say that the Prime Minister's openings are inferior, whether you like it or not. Secondly, even though I'm a great admirer of the public speaking aptitudes of the Prime Minister, I have to say, with a tinge of sadness, that I find him repetitive, and not very repetitive of what is merely negative. Unfortunately, all his energies of thought and expression have been almost distorted to fit into a negative mold. So it's the energy of negativity that sort of bubbles up all the time. That has its dramatic impact, I don't deny it, but the point is that after a while it begins to be counterproductive. It begins to be irritating. It begins to jar on your nerves. And in fact, it begins to recoil on the speaker. Unfortunately, to the extent that our Prime Minister is overexposed because he is seen to be speaking every day, sometimes on many occasions, there's an overkill, which combined with this very strong note of negativity makes his speeches less and less rewarding in terms of holding public attention with any degree of positivity. Whereas I find the speeches of Rahul Gandhi positive, even when he's criticizing the policies of the government or the stances of the Prime Minister or the advocacies of the Sangh Parivar, the RSS, etc. Even when he's dealing with negative subjects, I find an element of positivity in him. That I feel as something refreshing. And I'm sure that those who think objectively on this issue will not consider my assessment biased. Now, if you have any uncertainty left, let's straight away begin with it with an example. How to begin your speech, how to introduce a particular theme, and how effectively it can be done, and how a particular note struck at the beginning can be then regained towards the end of the speech, and the whole of the substance of the presentation woven together like beads on a string and made a beautiful, effective presentation. In the speech that Rahul Gandhi made in the parliament, he began with the metaphor of jiu-jitsu, one of the martial arts perfected in Brazil, where he says that the martial artist concerned tries to attain a chokehold on the opponent. And this is how it does it. And the opponent doesn't know from which direction and in which particular manner the attack comes and the chokehold is attained. Only after he's trapped does he realize that he's really trapped. And all he can do thereafter is to tap it and indicate that he submits himself. So he says that the Prime Minister of the country, for all his claim to be a matchless patriot, for all the media fanfare in presenting the Prime Minister as a man with 56 in chati, the hero for whom nothing is impossible, Modi hai to sab mumkin hai, and all that kind of heroic image, the invincible, indispensable hero of India, the godlike character. Modi himself claimed that he is of divine origin, Paramatma ne bheja hai, so on and so forth. And this kind of elaborate working up of an image. And therefore, towards the end of it, Rahul Gandhi says, in this very brief clipping that you're going to see, that the worst reality in India today is that the Prime Minister has become a prisoner of his own image. And that's a very profound statement to make. I don't know how many people realize the gravity, the depth, the power of that punch. It's actually a knockout blow. It's a mighty punch. But he puts it in such a manner that it remains a very, very civilized, subtly controlled, well-mastered statement of fact. You can't sense any venom in it, any malevolence in it. It's a very clear, serene, objective statement of fact, which I believe is the most effective way of stating anything in the public domain. Well, I have a few more things to say, but they are best said after we briefly listen to the video that Rahul Gandhi has shared with all of us, explaining why he has used this image of the chokehold. So I invite you to see and listen.
A lot of people have asked me why I used a jiu-jitsu analogy in my parliament speech. And the reason I used the idea of grips and a choke is because these exist in the sport of jiu-jitsu, and it's how you control an opponent with jiu-jitsu. But they also exist in the political realm. And in my experience of politics and what I've seen, political grips and political chokes are mostly hidden. The average person can't see them. And you have to look carefully to see where the choke is being applied, where the grips are placed. So that was the idea behind using this. It expressed very powerfully what our Prime Minister is going through. On one side, you have the Adani case, criminal case, where there is a case in the United States against Mr. Adani. On the other side, there is the Epstein scandal, 3 million files not released. We all know that Hardeep Puri is involved in the files. We know Mr. Anil Ambani is involved in the files. And we also know that the Prime Minister's name appears and the Prime Minister is most likely involved in the file. On the other side, there is China. And the example of the book that I gave in Parliament, Mr. Naravani. So on one side, there is the Chinese who are sitting at our border, and on the other side, there's the United States. And our Prime Minister is torn between these grips. He's trapped. Everybody knows it. Everybody can see it. The problem is that the real grip on Mr. Narendra Modi is the fake image that he has built. That has been built for him, an image that has required huge amounts of money. The key to that image is now in the hands of the United States, and that's why Indian farmers are going to suffer. Indian textile is going to suffer. We will be forced into buying imports from the United States, $100 billion of imports every year. That is three times what we currently buy. But most important is the data. The fact that our data is being handed over by Mr. Narendra Modi to American companies, to the United States for a pittance. And mark my words, we are going to become a data colony. Why did a country the size of India hand away everything, including our data, including our textile industry, including our entire agricultural sector? For what and why? And the answer is in the grips and the choke that is applied in the Prime Minister.
All right, now let's analyze this. You see, the main thing that Rahul Gandhi wants to say, the message that he wants to communicate to the people of India, the note of caution that he wants to sound for the people at large, is that our Prime Minister is in a state of helplessness. Now, that's an allegation to make. I'm not saying that that is the absolute truth, but I'm certainly saying that this particular statement has not been sufficiently engaged with by the members of the Treasury benches, and Rahul Gandhi's allegation has not been sufficiently and convincingly contested. And allied to this, he makes an even more important charge, something that should make every Indian sit up and worry, and that is, he has very, very gently but subtly said that India is becoming a colony of the United States. Now, I'm sure that those who have any sense of history will capture the tsunami-like undertones of that statement. After all, we secured our independence from the British Empire, subjugation to the British Raj, through a long series of struggle for which the Congress party under the leadership of Gandhiji gave the leadership or assumed the leadership. And the entire plank on which Narendra Modi has built his national image is that he is the most uncompromising, heroic, efficient custodian of India's interests. You remember that he called himself the Chowkidar of India, a claim that he has forgotten. So Rahul Gandhi is saying, keeping all of this in mind, he is saying that on his watch, on Narendra Modi's watch as the Prime Minister of India, India is being recolonized, this time not by UK, United Kingdom, but by a far greater power, America. And this recolonization is facilitated by certain factors which have become the ingredients of this deadly chokehold, in which your opponent catches you in such a manner that you're not able to breathe. You have to surrender. And then he identifies the various elements of that chokehold. He talks about the case in which Adani is trapped, and this goes to the power of that statement goes to something that Rahul Gandhi has always said, that Narendra Modi's primary agenda is to protect and promote his friend Gautam Adani. So the insinuation here is that the Prime Minister will pay any price, including jeopardizing the interest of the country, in order to save his friend Gautam Adani. Then he makes a reference to the Epstein files and the fact that Hardeep Singh Puri figures in it. Our friend Anil Ambani figures in it, and Modi's own name figures in it. In what way, I do not know, because this has not come to light. Therefore, I wouldn't really attach much significance to this. And Rahul himself says very likely he is. He doesn't say he is, very likely So there is a large margin of uncertainty left by Rahul Gandhi himself. And then, of course, he talks about China. Our helplessness has been further aggravated by this fire-breathing dragon across the border, China. And all of us know how every second day Subramanian Swamy comes on to the social media and accuses Narendra Modi of being a coward to keep quiet about the loss of a large chunk of India's property to China, which China has misappropriated by force. So he talks about the helplessness of the Prime Minister and his inability to counter China. Then he talks about, the general sense of helplessness that we have. And as a result of all this, surrendering national interest to the might of America. And there he symbolizes the whole arrangement of subjugation in the form of the complete access to Indian data that this particular bilateral agreement seems to have accorded to America. So that's why he says that we are in the process of being recolonized, because in the digital age, real colonization is not in terms of somebody coming here, fighting Indian forces, vanquishing them and establishing the headquarters here. You can be colonized from a distance. In fact, the most effective and enduring form of colonization is colonization from a distance, and Rahul Gandhi alleges that this has happened. But in all of this, what I want you to see is that in presenting his idea, Rahul Gandhi conducts himself as a highly civilized person. Therefore, whether you like it or not, there is a contrast between Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. The Prime Minister has his own dignity, his own augustness, largely because of the fact that he is the incumbent of the highest office in this country. But especially during the election time, he slips into certain modes of communication, certain repetition of ideas and allegations that I'm afraid does not do him any credit. I have not seen Rahul Gandhi lose his cool or lose his control in presenting anything. You can go through the hundreds of speeches that Rahul Gandhi has made. He never makes a baseless allegation. To the best of my knowledge, I could be wrong. I'm open to correction. Please correct me if I'm wrong. He never loses his cool in public. He says very strong things and he puts across certain ideas very strongly, but even when he does so, he is in complete possession of himself, complete control over himself. And he puts across his ideas in a positive manner. If you see this again, you will certainly agree with what I'm saying. But then, before I conclude, let me also point out that the way a person speaks tells us volumes about the quality of his personality. As a person is, so he speaks. Or as is often said, style is the man. So there is a huge contrast between the two styles, the style of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, very powerful in itself, no doubt, and the style of Rahul Gandhi, very endearing, very polished, very civilized, very much in control. I am afraid that any educated, thinking person will agree that Rahul's way of communicating is superior to that of the Prime Minister's, though the Prime Minister's way of speaking is likely to appeal more and more powerfully to the masses, no doubt about it. But if it is the communication of ideas as fortified with thoughts, with data, with information, then I'm afraid my vote will go for Rahul Gandhi in terms of the art of public speaking. But as I said a short while ago, speaking is nothing in itself. Speaking is a revelation of personality. And in this context, let me remind you of what Prashant Kishore, who knows both of them very, very closely, said about Rahul and the Prime Minister in comparison. This is in the public domain, so it's easy for me to invoke the insight of Prashant Kishore. A journalist asked Prashant Kishore as to how he rates both of them. He said, if facing adversities and standing one's ground is the criterion, any day Rahul Gandhi, any day Rahul Gandhi, he repeated 3 times, any day Rahul Gandhi. If it is a matter of winning elections one after the other and claiming the glory of it, Narendra Modi. But if it is facing adversity, standing your ground and refusing to quit, showing strength of character, any day Rahul Gandhi. That strength of character can also be seen reflected in the style of speech that Rahul Gandhi is showing these days. And I have to say, as someone who has known Rahul from the time he was 17 years of age and watched him grow to the present stage, as the former principal of the college where he studied for 1 year, St. Stephen's College, and therefore as someone who has a little bit of affection for him as a former student, I have to say that I am immeasurably proud of the way Rahul has shaped, facing a whole world of extreme difficulties, odds, opposition, an orchestrated campaign of vilification, papu, papu, papu. The way this young man has blossomed fills my heart with pride. And look at the final irony of it. Our Prime Minister, the man of matchless rhetorical powers, he did not speak in the parliament. I don't know why the speaker created the impression that there was a physical threat to the survival of the Prime Minister because some women protested, or some women were likely to protest, which itself is such a bad reflection on the Prime Minister. Because we know how his predecessor, Manmohan Singh, stood without wincing in the face of tremendous opposition, unruly opposition, unleashed by the BJP itself. He stood there in an attitude of serene and stoic fortitude. And here is the man with 56 in chati running away from the parliament simply because the speaker informs him that women are likely to protest. So the point is that as of now, if you analyze the art of speaking from a technical, scientific perspective, as someone who has judged at least 300, 400 debates in my lifetime, I can tell you that my award will go to Rahul Gandhi. There's no doubt about it. And particularly the speech, the very clinical way he constructed the entire edifice of thought, starting with this introduction of the chokehold in jiu-jitsu, to the culmination on the idea that India is being recolonized. And all because America has maneuvered Narendra Modi into a state of helplessness. America has Narendra Modi, our Prime Minister, in its chokehold. So that's the power of the argument. And that power cannot be lost on everyone. And I think it's because the Prime Minister could not actually counter the power of this presentation that he opted not to speak, which is very unfortunate, because I believe that the Prime Minister has the power, the ability, all the talent, all the resources, all the circumstances in his favor to give a fitting reply to Rahul. That should have happened. It would have been far healthier if that had happened. Anyway, it did not happen. But I have to tell you again and again, I'm amazed, simply amazed at the way Rahul has blossomed as a leader. He is, to me, a person cast in the classic mold of leadership. But whether or not he has a party to back him up, whether or not the opposition parties as a whole would see this incomparable potential and make capital use of it, I don't know. But one thing I know, this is proven stuff. And every Indian has reasons to feel proud of it. So I hail Rahul Gandhi today as a mature politician. Though even today, on occasions, There are people who, beneath their breath, utter the word papu, maybe out of the sheer compulsion of habit at the thought of Rahul Gandhi or the mention of Rahul Gandhi. But again, the less said about it, the better. So here is a classic instance of the art of public speaking, which I would readily recommend to any young person who is interested in cultivating and mastering the art of public speaking. Here it is. You don't have to look anywhere else. Thank you. Jai Hind.